And we're good. Here we are. Bridget, how are you? How are you this lovely morning?
Fabulous.
She's
I was
doing
going to
great.
ask if this was going to be a video because I woke up and looked in the mirror and it was like, oh,
Woke up flawless like Beyonce.
well, nope, flawless was not the word that came to mind. I went to myself. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, geez.
That's a couple extra minutes today on the readiness.
I know.
Well, this is super exciting. I'm glad that you joined us on such short notice. We have a laundry list of fun things we could say. We got 2008 Olympian, 2009 World Championship, 9 times NCAA champion, but more importantly, one half of the best Dirty Dancing pose that has ever been performed. I think that's probably the best credential that you have under your list.
I would have to agree. Most terrifying.
I was just going to say, I will say that was instantly a moment when I was like when you're a little kid, you get like dared to do something and you're so fired up. Like we just locked eyes. We were like, let's do it. And then as soon as you started to commit, I was like, oh, wait a minute. We're on concrete. This might get weird. I just met you like formally a couple like days ago. If I drop you, it's going to be so awkward. And it was on video. That was bad.
I know.
But we nailed it.
What I didn't tell you though is I did not really jump. So I was like, if I don't jump really high and far, like there's a guarantee that I will not kill myself.
Yeah.
But if I do go all out on this could end poorly. So I went.
Yeah, medium, slow ramping. Shout out to Ty, whoever filmed it. We have to get that photo back and put it up. Maybe that'll be my podcast title picture.
Perfect. Yeah, I think Ty has it.
It was great. We'll get to Power Monkey later, but. First, let's start with what we're in the middle of NCAA season. Not that we should date the podcast, but you are doing all the things in NCAA, having been a gymnast and now commentating. What do you think about the current NCAA style commentating or / what's going on with teams? What do you think?
So style of commentating, I love it. I work with John Roethlisberger and it's
amazing.
So fun. It is so fun. And this is my first official season working with him. I've been an analyst now. Oh gosh, this is my 3rd season. Jeez. Seems like I've been doing it for years and years. But this is my 3rd season with them. And John is really cool the way he does commentary because he's a play-by-play that really sets you up for like success. Like we'll talk about our shows beforehand, like the day of. We'll have our production meeting in the morning, go through everything, make our little stars like, hey, comment here. And then we go back and go through it again. And like, it's amazing and refreshing to kind of like, we feel ready. It's literally like we're getting ready for a competition. Like as much as the athletes are getting ready, guess what? The analysts and the play-by-play, commentary is getting ready too, because we want to make the show run smoothly and we want to make it really good. So working with John has just been awesome. And I love that ESPN kind of allows you to be your own self. You're not a cookie cutter. Like you can essentially say whatever you want to say if you think it is going to be beneficial to the viewer.
Yeah, that's good.
Obviously keeping it PG.
Sure.
Sometimes that can be really tough. There have been times where I'm like, oh, and things are going through my head and I'm like, I need to just stop talking. Like just close your mouth.
Yeah.
But no, ESPN, I think their coverage for gymnastics has it's made the sport grow. It's helped the teams with recruits. I mean, it genuinely has helped every single team, whether you get on TV or not, because there's a high possibility you will eventually. Yeah. So it's a huge selling point. I mean, you go to LSU, you are going to be on Friday Night Heights. You go to Florida, Alabama, I mean, we're starting to do a lot more with Pac-12 and Big Ten. And also, is it Pac-10?
Pac-12? Pac-12, Big Ten.
Oh, gosh. I got to learn these.
I only remember Big Ten because the one is the actual I. So that matters.
Yeah, but Oklahoma is Big 12.
Huh. I don't know that. I'm not going to lie and say that I know them well enough.
I should know that. That's the thing. I'm pretty sure that they're Big 12 because...
Somebody tweet us and give us a list of all the ones so I can fill it in.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Anyway, it's just giving the coverage. Yeah. It's exactly what the sport needs. And I think college gymnastics has always been a highlight to me, whether it was competing in it or, fighting to get on TV. Literally, I have the funniest story of how I got hired. And whenever people ask me, how did you get hired? I'm like, I literally bothered people constantly until they finally just
Gave in. Nice.
And they're like, oh, really? I'm like, no, like that's genuinely how it happened. Like I got on the headset and I was like, hey, you guys should hire me. And then I took it off and like I had to go warm up beam. And then sure enough, they
got a call.
Shot and
yeah, here you are.
So moral of the story, if you bother someone enough,
yeah.
you can get things done.
74 emails later.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I mean, ESPN is just, I think it's so great what they're doing with the sport, and it's fun for the viewer. I think John and I have had a lot of good positive feedback of just, it's refreshing to watch. You know, you're not listening to the same thing over and over and over. Obviously I like to call them our characters. Like John is very funny when he does commentary, and he like will throw in really what he thinks are funny dad jokes.
Shout out, John. Shout out.
We feed off of each other really well.
Yeah, you do. That's for sure.
Which makes for a great show.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, if you're not meshing well with your co-host, it's going to be
awkward.
Tough. But yeah, but John and I have a lot of fun. I'm literally speaking for John right now, so hopefully he can.
No, I think John would agree, man. I think you guys do an amazing job. And going back to your point, too, it is crazy the exposure, because I think I was listening to like the Women's in Sports Day was obviously recently. And I remember like Lexi Grabber from Alabama was saying like how she grew up as like watching Alabama and falling in love with it and just knowing she wanted to go. And I don't know if you had that with Florida, but a lot of people have that like, I don't know, that like end dream of being like, I need to be there. I need to be a team. And it's crazy because when you're 8 and you're falling in love with a college and a team, and then it comes through. And then she was saying how she feels it's so important to be a good role model for like the kids in the stands, because that was her one day. I think that's one of the best things about college gymnastics is like the role modeling and positive inspiration piece.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, again, I did things like very differently going into college, because I actually did not watch. I didn't even want to do college gymnastics until Sam got recruited, and I was like, that looks so fun. I was like, maybe I should like give this another look.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that athlete that like fell in love with a team and I followed them.
Yeah.
Which I guess let's see, when I was being recruited, it was 2011. I feel like gymnastics was just getting started.
Sure.
Getting on TV. I to be honest, I don't even know if SC Network was around for gymnastics back then. But anyway, right now it is kind of they're in their prime.
It's like, yeah.
I mean, and it's crazy. There's so many athletes. There's a girl on OU, and I cannot remember her name off the top of my head, but her dream was to go to Oklahoma. Like, she watched them, and hearing that story, like, I don't know, it kind of touched me, because I was like, wow, that is so cool that you grow up. And I'm sure a lot of people go through it with either football, other sports in general, but gymnastics, it's very prominent right now. You get these athletes that are freshmen and sophomore, and they're like, I grew up watching this team.
Yeah.
My dad went to Florida. We always went to football games. Like, it's so cool to see that. And I'm like, look at my parents. I'm like, why didn't you do that for me?
If I remember correctly, your parents were hardcore. They like dressed up all the time and like they were going after it, right?
So yes and no. Freshman year, my parents had no idea what they were getting themselves into. My parents are the ones that they put me in gymnastics and had no idea. Like, they didn't think I would compete. They thought I would quit. Like, they were like, oh, she's just doing this for fun.
Yeah, energy.
And then after my freshman year, my dad got really into it.
Yeah, nice.
My dad was getting more TV time than I was. Like, nice. He was known for his orange blazer jacket. Yeah. He had a custom vest that my mother made him.
Wow.
And a custom bow tie.
Wow.
And blue pants and orange chucks. Like, that was his
commitment.
He had an outfit. And he also had a megaphone that he made himself that he could fold, and it would be flat, and he would like stick it in the back pocket of his pants so he could get through security and everything, and then he'd whip it out, put it together, and I was like, you're that guy.
The emergency megaphone.
Honestly, everyone needs one.
I know. You need one hype megaphone in your life at all times. Just for things you do well. Like, hey, you clean that room. Get it.
Hey, everyone needs a hype man.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't care what you're doing in life, everyone needs one.
Yeah, I enjoy it, man. I think I definitely have gotten more involved the last 5 years through work stuff, but I don't know, it's cool. I really enjoy, Jessica Oberon from the Gymnastic podcast was on, and we were talking a lot about the differences between men's and women's college gymnastics, and especially how the scoring system is different, which is actually a big viral Twitter discussion right now, but it allows so many more fans to be involved in the women's side because they get it. They understand the 10-0. And back to you and John doing a good job. You guys have a great job of balancing like the gymnastics technical stuff to like the lay consumer stuff, because on one side you want like hardcore gymnastics fans want to hear names, they want to understand the nuances, whereas the lay person who we want to try to pull in as like a parent to get their kids involved, they have no clue what's happening, right? So there's a really good balance there. But the scoring system is hard because like it allows guys to continue doing elite skills, which can maybe feed the Olympic team, versus the women's side is much, much harder to do that. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think one thing that everyone needs to have a little better understanding, these college athletes on the women's side, like they're not going back to elite. Like once you graduate, I'm going to speak for everyone. Your body is hurting.
Oh, my God.
You are not in the best physical feel. Like you feel old. Yeah. I mean, I know I did.
I was trash senior year. Absolutely.
Right. So, and for men, it seems to be a little different. Their peak, like a women, I'm trying to say this, a women's gymnastics, a female right. Words are hard. A female gymnast peaks at like 15 to 16, maybe 17 if depending on when they start and get into. A male gymnast peaks at like 25. Yeah. I mean, it's just so much later, and the gap. You have to think about the gap. Like for me, I started gymnastics when I was 4. I peaked, I would say, at 16, and then I went into a spiral downhill slope at like 17, 18. And then I tried to make the Olympics again in 2012 just because I am really
full send.
I should definitely try again. But I mean, I went into college my freshman year, and I was probably 20 pounds, 25 pounds overweight. Like we were rough. Yeah. It was rough. But you know what? I was happy. Whenever I look back, I'm like, oh man, I'm like, we really should have hit the treadmill a little harder. But I'm like, look how happy I am. I was so happy to be there. So it's just, it's very hard. And I think the scoring system, it'll never change. You can't have the guys go back. You can't.
It's hard.
I mean, if college gymnastics went forward and we started doing elite scoring, how many people would have absolutely no idea what's going on? Yeah. Well, so many.
The discussion now that I think Mark Williams put up on Twitter was flashing the old school system score, but still recording that, like a conversion. Like you would get a 15 and then you would show the 10 or the 9-8, but you would actually get a score, and like you would hold both. Like that's up in the air right now.
Yeah. I like where his head's at, but that'll never happen.
It's a little chaotic. Yeah.
Well, it's a little chaotic, and it's just, for the viewer needs to be simple. You know, watch a routine, you hear the good, the bad, the ugly, you see the score. Yeah. And I think for men, what is the whole reasoning behind the scoring system? Just to make it a little more viewer friendly?
I think so. Well, they're doing a retro throwback me as a joke. I think they're wearing like old school leotards and like unis and stuff, and they're doing like 10-0s and whatever. Like maybe they're doing old school routines. I have no idea, but it's just a conversation about, because we're trying to get obviously the men's more exposure to like increase the program stuff.
And they deserve it.
Totally. I mean, it's freaking hard, man. Hard.
Like, I think it is kind of wild though, the amount of college gymnasts that are throwing big skills on the women's side. I mean, totally. You're seeing some big skills, and I think that's one thing that John and I always try to really highlight, is that these combinations that you're seeing on bars, these combinations of like floor
doubles and stuff,
big skills. Like these are skills that, you know, I always say, I'm like, I never even did that. I tried. Never completed it. And then on bars, you know, you see these combinations that you're like, that is a full-on elite bar routine.
Yeah. And I wanted to
release and you're good.
Yeah. And I wanted to, going back to the point about like 17 is the peak. Do you think that maybe the younger systems that we had kind of in the 20 years before has been like setting up people to maybe not have a chance to try to peak early? Because I think about like Michaela Skinner and Trinity Thomas, who are, you know, still doing some pretty crazy stuff. Shallon Olsen, right?
Still doing?
I think I don't know.
I don't think she's doing elite though, right?
I think she's on the national team still. So she's doing both. Yeah. And so and then like, Shallon Olsen, I think, is also on the Canadian national team. And she was doing Amanars and Instagram videos and stuff outside of just her regular stuff. And then you have people like, you know, Becky Downey from the UK, who's like 27, right? You have like Danusha, who's like 26, I think. Like, I don't know, like I go back and forth. Part of me thinks that there's definitely a huge difference between men and women speaking, but in the other side of me, especially on the medical side, thinks like maybe if we just like pumped the brakes more from 10 to 14, we could maybe get someone to like the 20s and peak then, especially if the rules change and they can train elite skills in college and they have coaches that can help them with that. Like maybe we could see a little bit, you know, an extra few years into the later, but it's hard. Honestly, it goes back to college recruiting. It goes back to like all this kind of stuff. And a lot of college coaches have been in the podcast and say there's a lot of moving pieces, but I don't know. I think the next decade we'll see it more so than before.
I do too. And I look back though. I was 20. I was 20 when I was trying for 2012. Alicia was 24. It's not like we weren't in bad shape. Like, you know, Alicia, I'll just say Alicia probably should have been on that 2012 team. I mean, she kind of kicked ass, and that Olympic trials was amazing for her. Me, on the other hand, my body just like shut down. I was like, we're done. We're done. No more for you. But leading up to that, like I was in the best shape of my life, and I was healthy, and I do look back on that sometimes and think like, wow, you know, I was 20. I was a dinosaur. I was back then.
It's like dog years.
Dinosaur. And then I went on to college, and I only had one major injury in college, and it really, I mean, it was a very major injury, but it didn't take me out.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even a season-ending injury.
Yeah.
It probably should have been a season-ending injury.
Asterisk, questionable.
But I was able to come back to it. And I wonder, was I able to come back to it because I had a strong foundation from elite?
Yeah.
I mean, and you have to also take into consideration coaching styles have drastically changed in the last decade.
Absolutely.
I never, I worked out maybe 5 hours a day max if we were lucky. And there was a lot of standing around. If you talk to the right people, they will tell you that I wasn't lazy, but
you had a nice pace. You knew your pace.
I managed my energy well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was really conserving energy every day. But I mean, you had athletes that were in the gym 8 hours a day. Yeah. And they were working out 8 hours a day. Yeah, your body isn't going to handle that much pounding for that long. Like, it's going to start breaking down. So I think you are going to see a lot older athletes now because coaching styles have just changed.
Yep, totally. And I wonder, like, it's obviously like a utopian world. Like what if, I think now is going to be the only opportunity we see it because of the chaos that's happening. We're going to see, like, what if you just sprinkled in like better coaching education, some different coaching styles, like better strength and conditioning stuff, like using some like external loading when the kids are little, like pushing away the level 10, like by age 10 rule and like a thought process, stuff like that. Like, what if we just like put all these
level 10 by age 10.
I know. I'm not saying it's wrong and you can do it. I'm just saying like kids competing level 10 skills when they're 10. That's like, oh, it's a little dicey.
Well, it's kids competing level 10 skills that shouldn't be.
Yeah. Puberty and growth plates.
You look at a kid and you're like, you should not be. I mean, I have been to camps where I'm like, who told you to do this?
Yeah.
Like, we need to take a couple steps back.
Yeah.
And then I get all mad and huffy puffy. I'm like, oh, she told me I wasn't supposed to do it. And it's like, well, you're supposed to do 2 flips and you can barely get 1.
I'm just worried that your bones are going to turn to dust when you land.
Right. I'm like, trust me, you're going to thank me later.
Yeah.
But I think the coaching is the biggest part.
I completely agree.
I mean, I started doing extra work, and it wasn't physical therapy. I'm like not sure what the correct word is. It was
accessory work.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it was strength and conditioning, but I didn't do it at the gym. I mean, I went to St. Vincent and did it, and it was monitored. Yeah. I firmly believe that is why I was as healthy as I was. I mean, freak accident. You know, I tore my bicep tendon. You can't really prevent that.
Gymnastics, like, gymnastics is hard.
Yes, like that was a very freak accident. I came back from camp and I was like, my shoulder hurts.
Yeah.
I'm like, you tore your bicep tendon. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Okay. So this is actually a perfect like question. I was going to ask this because of the CrossFit stuff at the end and Power Monkey, but I've talked to a lot of people on the podcast who were elites or like NCAAs, and I wonder, I'm like, do you think that maybe some of the things that you did in college, either lifting or like the stuff you were doing at St. Vincent's, do you think that would have been beneficial for more people to do at a younger age? And people always hear me and they're thinking like bodybuilding, right? They're thinking like max out front squats. And that's not what we're talking about. Just like good old formal accessory strength conditioning, like 1 to 2 days per week, high level physical therapy type prehab stuff. Like in my personal opinion, that has been the biggest like myth and misunderstanding in the culture is like people just
100%.
assume like they're not following the evidence. But I think if kids started that when they were like 12 and 13, just learning how to do it, and by like high school could like do a little extra loading on the side, you pull off all the loading and the repetitions, but you can still develop an incredible amount of like strength and power and stuff. Like that's my personal opinion. If that changes along with the coaching style, I think the injury rates would plummet, and I think the performance rates would skyrocket.
Well, and look at it this way. How many coaches teach, obviously skills, basic skills, but they always teach you how to fall.
Mm-hmm.
They always teach you. So why not learn how to do a proper squat?
Mm-hmm.
Why not learn how to do have that mobility?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with learning how to squat. And again, the misconception is, oh, you're lifting weights. Are you trying to bulk up? It's like, I was my leanest, going into my senior year, and I started doing Olympic lifting with our strength and conditioning coach.
Yep.
When I say Olympic lifting, I max had maybe 25s on there.
Right.
And that was like, whoa.
Yep, absolutely.
And for the common viewer, that's literally 85 pounds.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's all about like you said, it's about technique and progression, just like gymnastics. It's about exercise selection. It's about like power focus versus max lifting. But like Steve Gluckstein said it too. He said so his CrossFit gym, he had a CrossFit gym attached to his trampoline academy that's just like by luck. And he said he was the lightest he ever was training, I think for the Olympics, and he was back squatting like 300 pounds, right? So he's like 160 pounds back squatting 300. He's like, my core has never been stronger. My legs were never stronger. My back stopped hurting, like all that kind of stuff, because he was strong enough to take the forces of the trampoline. So like a lot of people, John Horton has said that, like a lot of people have said, like, I wish I had maybe investigated the idea when I was younger and there's just so many points. You need the coach to buy in. You need a good strength coach who understands gymnastics. I've met some strength coaches that like just push a football program on gymnasts. I'm like, dude, this is a terrible idea.
Right. And I was just about to say, so at Florida, the strength and conditioning coach, Karen, she had been working with gymnastics for years and years and years. But I like to think that I kind of changed her look at gymnastics because I was able to go and work out with her 4 days a week, compete on a Friday.
Yep.
Like, and I had to do that. I literally had to do that if I wanted to do the weekends that I had. I had to go into I had to put in that extra work.
Yep.
I was the strongest I'd ever been.
Yeah.
My senior year. And it was, Adrian has had a drastic change of the way he looks at fitness, because it used to be, all right, go do stairs.
Yeah.
Go run on a treadmill. Now it's like, all right, well, let's focus on maybe one muscle group and really focus on that. And it will completely change. I mean, I think Olympic lifting for gymnasts specifically, it will not hurt, but you have to have a coach that knows gymnastics.
100%.
And they know that you're going to be lifting the bar for a month.
Yep.
Maybe 2 months.
Yep.
But you're going to learn you have to be very smart about it. And if you have all of those tools and everything together, it's only going to make you better.
Yep. And that's where it takes the trust of like the gymnastics coach has to talk and communicate and trust the strength coach, because a good strength coach will be like, this athlete has stiff shoulders, they can't front rack. Let's use dumbbells while we work the barbell, right? Or, this athlete is not going well. Let's do some med ball work instead of doing whatever else it is. But it's just like, I make the comparison to people who are outside. It's like when they first do gymnastics, like they're cripplingly sore because it's a new stimulus. It's a new training effect. For gymnasts, you don't need a lot. You need like one day or a couple days here and there to fill in the gaps and sprinkle in the stuff that gymnastics traditionally isn't great at, like direct glute training or power development type stuff that's external loading. And it makes a huge difference. And I think if little kids, little as in like 10 to 12, start learning, and then by like 12 to 13 can do it. We have a whole bunch of athletes at Champion that are PT clinic that come and lift once a week in the summer, and they make a massive change in their power and their injury rates. It's incredible.
And I guess that's another thing. You don't have to do this every day.
No. And it shouldn't replace gymnastics conditioning.
I only did it twice a week.
Yep.
I wanted to do it more, but when you add on top of, your training,
routines,
extra conditioning, and then Olympic lifting, it's like, never mind, I'm good.
Yeah, there's only so much space in the bucket.
Exactly. But again, switching a coach's mindset is the hardest thing, because coaches I've never met more stubborn coaches than in the gymnastics world ever in my entire life.
Dave Durante said the exact same thing.
They are they're so set in their ways. And now that I do CrossFit, which that we can talk about that later on, but like now that I do CrossFit, I'm like, I go up to Florida. Prime example. Adrian is one of my very good friends. I can't believe I'm saying that he's like actually one of my best friends now. It's so weird. But I talk to him a lot. He told me, and he's a very honest guy, I have never looked in better shape. And I was like, well, guess what I do?
Yeah.
CrossFit.
Yeah.
And he was like, really? And I was like, yes. I'm like, Adrian, if you can do it. Like you could send these, but another thing is athletes are different now.
They are.
Athletes are, I'm going to say it, they're wimps. They are wimpy, just sassy, unmotivated piles of mush sometimes. Like
shots fired.
There's nothing that makes me more frustrated than when you go into a gym and you just see sitting. And you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, get up.
Yeah.
There's no sitting.
There's plenty of stuff to do.
Yes. I'm like, come on. But again, I mean, every athlete is different. I was not a sitting athlete. I did try to sit.
You said you were standing. You were conserving your energy.
Yeah. I was a big leaner. Oh, I was leaning on everything. You'd see me on the wall just like.
Classic bar cable lean.
Oh.
And then you stand up and your hair's stuck. Like, ah.
I would just straight up lean on the coach and I'd be like, just don't move for like that. I need this.
We get a lot of leaners who are faking drills. That's a big one. We're like leaning, but like, no, I'm kicking up. I'm just kicking up. Like, no, you're not. Shut up.
Hold on. I'm guilting.
Mental prep. You're doing a cartwheel. Don't do it.
That was me.
Back to everything. I mean, I completely agree. I haven't met, me included, I haven't met a single former gymnast, like kind of our age generation, that it's like looking back and being like, man, like I should have, like Jake Dalton said the same thing. He's like, God, if I'd done a little bit, my knees probably wouldn't explode. Dave like tore his ACL like 47 times. And he was like, maybe if I just learned how to squat properly and loaded a little bit, my legs would be stronger. And then Chad Vaughn's behind him like.
Think of it like, I have very weak glutes. Yeah. It's so sad. My butt does not it's like a second late. Like I'll squat and all of a sudden I'm like, activate. And I'm like, ooh, we're too late. I'm like, my back is already activated. Never mind. Don't need it. So like, I do wonder if I had learned how to properly use my hamstrings and my glutes, I bet I wouldn't have back problems. And not that I have a terrible back, but like I will have back problems the rest of my life. And that's okay.
Yep.
We're accepting that because there's nothing I can do about it. But like, weak cheeks. I have weak cheeks.
Should I make that the podcast title?
Yes. Dad will be really happy to know that I know that they're weak.
Yeah.
Last time monkey, he gave me some exercises and after one set, I was like, all right, I'm done. He's like, no, 3 more. I was like,
my bum is on fire.
Like, I'm so sore.
Yeah, it's amazing when you put in a little bit of that. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that it's just, we're stubborn. It's I think people are just fearful of like jumping off the cliff, and building a plane on the way down. It's like people are worried that if they change or do something different, that they're going to lose their chance or they're going to miss their window. And it's like, yeah, you'll probably have a little bit of a growing pains moment because it's new to you and you got to learn it. It's like, it's crazy how much information you have to learn in strength conditioning. It's a full job profession, right? For one example.
No,
but
absolutely. But people don't want to put in the work because they've already put in the work in the gymnastics world.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we got this down to a science. Well, now you need to put a little bit more onto the Olympic lifting side. Yeah. And I think if one person really bought into it, it would kind of have a ripple effect and it would get to more people. But no one at the same time, we're now, we're months away from Tokyo.
Yeah.
No one is going
Can't do it now.
Hey, let's go lift some weight.
Yeah. Has to be the next quad. You got to start that.
Yes.
Rightfully so, because it takes a long time to like figure it out and all that kind of crap.
Oh, totally.
The other thing that's really good too is we're seeing a lot more gymnasts that graduate and get into the exercise physiology field or strength and conditioning field, and they're like our personal trainers or strength and conditioning coaches, and they're like in their younger 20s, and they like realize they want to help, and they like are now consulting with people in gyms, which is useful because honestly, I think most gymnastics coaches should probably just hire and delegate out for the beginning and then learn as they go, but you definitely shouldn't take it all on yourself.
No. Man, everyone always thought I was going to go into like APK, and I was like, nope, communications.
But let's switch gears and talk about the actual NCAA teams and things of that. Like, obviously, I don't know who you cover or comment, but what are your thoughts on how the season's going? What teams are looking good? What teams are surprising you?
Yes. Well, OU. So I covered OU the very first week of my assignments. They look strong. They look a little different. I mean, they still have Maggie, who is obviously just,
phenom.
I mean, she is a remarkable athlete.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, just the way she does gymnastics is, you can't teach that. Yeah. Like, her style of gymnastics is just one of a kind. But OU looked great. It's a long season though. So what sucks is, we talk, and John and I always, we don't get confused about it, but it's bothersome when you talk about a team like, oh, they're amazing today. Yeah, it's week 3.
Yeah.
Let's see how they are in a month or two. And it's a roller coaster with these teams, because you have your highs and you have some lows. Yeah. I mean, right now, LSU, they are dealing with the amount of injuries that team has on their team right now is insane. So, they just lost to Alabama last week. First time, I think in 11 years, like in 10 years, I think.
I think, yes. Something.
And do I think LSU will lose to Alabama again? No. They had to put it, gymnastics is, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you could be standing on the side, not thinking you're ever going to compete, and next thing you know, they're like, you're in lineup.
Warm up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I think all of these meets during regular season, you have to just take them as confidence boosters and not live off of them. Like right now, Florida looks phenomenal.
Yeah, they're crushing it.
But let's think about last year. Florida looked phenomenal all regular season and then didn't make it to nationals. You have these teams that you really have to monitor every athlete differently, because you have to make it through regular season and be healthy. But then you have to remember that when you go into regionals, now with the whole new format, you don't know, you don't know if you're going to make it. And I mean, Alabama didn't make it to nationals last year. So those two teams are out for redemption. Right now, they both look great.
Yep.
I think Kentucky is very surprising. Kentucky's got some good little freshmen on their team that are really stepping up. You've got Arkansas, who no one knew how they were going to be. They just had a huge win against Missouri. And it wasn't even – I rewatched the meet. It really wasn't even a great meet for either team. But to have Arkansas get their first win – and Jordan is just I love Jordan as a person, but I love her as a coach. And I love what she represents for the University of Arkansas and how she's taking that program to new heights, and she's doing it in a very smart way, if that makes sense.
Shout out Jordan and Miss Val, who's her mentor.
Right. Well, that definitely helps. I mean, but it's just so refreshing to see her out there.
Yeah.
See her. I mean, the way she connects with these athletes, it's just really nice to see. And you look at it and you're like, wow.
And power couple, man. Chris Brooks is a stud. He's like definitely got a lot of technical knowledge inside. So, and
you have to look at men in their gymnastics. Hire them. Do not be afraid to hire a men's gymnast. Like, they have all the technique from their experience as an athlete. That translates to women's gymnastics so fluidly, like so easily, but people are so afraid to do that.
I know.
Nebraska has Mike, he was a gymnast at Nebraska and then OU.
I'm not sure.
I'm not. I know he was at OU for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, all of these coaches just have so many good things to say about these male coaches that were male gymnasts.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I'm like, yeah, that's not surprising at all. Like, they're like, oh, he's a great fit. I'm like, well, duh. He's high energy. He can relate to the girl. Like, he can connect with the girls.
Yeah.
He's younger. Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you hire him? So having Jordan and Chris, I think, is going to be amazing.
Who's your sleeper team? Last year it was Lindenwood. I think it's Minnesota this year. That's going to be sneaking around. But who do you got?
Lexi Ramler is my girl.
Unreal,
I
right?
love her.
She's definitely got some support too. Like, there's some real good people on that, like real good routines, and they're consistent. I've watched like a couple weeks and like a hit.
Minnesota, Michigan still has.
Oh, yep.
Michigan still has some solid people. They've got Natalie Wojcik, who is a stud of a sophomore. Denver.
Yep, Denver's 4 as of current rankings. Utah obviously is 3, I think, right now. And Miley is amazing, freshman.
Oregon State.
Yep,
Washington just beat UCLA at home.
Yeah, that was a big one.
I mean, it's a little too early, in my opinion, to really like pinpoint, be like, oh, this team. Like,
yeah,
it's still early, and there's just so much that can happen from now until postseason.
And it goes both ways with injuries. You have some people that are nursing injuries and they're out right now. And like, you give them 2 weeks or 3 weeks to do like a rehab, they get through the middle of the season, then all of a sudden they're ready for postseason. And you're like, where did these people come from? But then unfortunately, gymnastics is high risk. Stuff can happen. You know, it's a long season. It's exhausting, back-to-back weeks.
Well, and I mean, Georgia, another one. I haven't really watched Georgia, and I haven't covered them yet, but they seem to be doing really well. Auburn.
Yep.
I mean, Auburn beat Alabama.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. That's a big one.
That was it's crazy. All these teams, every team is just getting better and better each year. And now that I do commentary, I see it. I mean, you literally see the progression that they make. And Kentucky last year, I covered Kentucky like 5 times.
Yeah.
So I feel like Tim and I were like, oh, we were friends. Like, we get on a coach's call and I'm like, yo, what's up? Like, listening to him and how excited he is for his team now, you know, they graduated a huge senior class that really was it was really hard on him to watch them all graduate. Exciting, but like, they were the reason why the culture at Kentucky changed. Were the 4 seniors that he had. But now he's got these stud freshmen that come in, and I'm like, you know, you're getting these athletes, obviously because of your program, but because of you. Yeah. I mean, you are bringing them in, and it's so awesome to watch the progression of each team, and every team just gets better and better each year.
Yeah, I think I agree. The last like 5 to 10 years has been much more, it's kind of been spread around like, obviously we had like these top teams that are going to be amazing because they kind of trickle down good talent. They have great coaching staffs, the structures, but things have shaken up a lot in head coaches and kind of new staff members. And I love that it's a little bit more even now. Like, I always say, I love watching college basketball way more than pro basketball, because college basketball, like in the tournament, is like, you could have a huge upset. You could have like someone comes out of the box, and I feel like college gymnastics is moving that way on the women's side, where more teams have talent, more teams have closer scores. There's a bigger pool, and it's like there's a lot more exciting meets to watch because of that, you know?
Well, and I totally agree with that. And I just think I just love college sports. Like, I love all college sports. I think it's young talent and people just come out of nowhere. I think there's so many people that come out of left field. You're like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, who are you and where did you come from? Because no one has your talent. Yep. And they're like, oh, yeah, I was. Like, prime example, Kentucky right now has a freshman, Raina Worley. She's a stud. J.O. kid, no one really looked at her. She reached out to Kentucky. And I believe it might have been at Flip Fest. Someone said like, hey, you should look at this kid. And she ended up reaching out. And now she is one of their top. I mean, she's a top freshman, but she has won SEC Freshman of the Week multiple times. That's
awesome. Well, think about like Gracie Kramer too at UCLA. She was a walk-on and she just got 10 last week. Like, put the work in, man. You never know what could happen.
Well, and I think it's a risk too.
Yeah, sure.
So there's also a lot of athletes that top recruits go to school and don't do anything. I mean, it's a risk that you just have to, I hate to say it, but you have to just kind of take it. Yeah. Because you never know.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think it's been fun to watch. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I personally think that a lot of the JO world is shifting towards college as the main goal. Whereas people kind of like thinking as Mainer. Yeah, Mainer, like the state, but kind of more. But I think that more people are from an earlier age. Like they watch, again, they go back to the first thing. They watch TV, they watch the things, and they kind of want to go that route versus maybe dabbling in the elite world or more. But I don't know, from your experiences, there's a lot of coaches and parents and gymnasts who listen to the podcast. Like, what do you think people should be trying to think about when they're younger about like trying to move up towards the college world? Is there, I mean, you had a little different perspective, obviously, but looking back on it now, do you think there's advice you would give to the younger athletes?
Yeah. I mean, again, I literally had the most abnormal recruiting process. Like, it's hard for me to really get into this because I just was so different.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was recruited. I didn't start looking at schools till my junior year of high school.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there's no scholarships left.
Yeah.
So I really hate the fact that you have to start so early, because I remember at 12 years old, how do you know where you want to go to college at 12 years old?
I know.
You are going to change physically from the time of 12 to the time you graduate high school. Physically, mentally, emotionally, you are going to be a different person.
Different human, yeah.
So it's so hard for me to talk about, because parents have asked, like, what should I do for recruitment? And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, I was very fortunate and very lucky.
Yeah.
Schools did find me and they recruited me very heavily. And they respected the fact that I was still pursuing elite goals while being recruited.
Right.
I mean, I was at 2010 Worlds emailing back and forth with coaches because that was allowed back then. Let's make sure that we all know. That
Not a violation. Not a violation.
Yep. Not a violation. Except, man, you talk about a girl that queen of violations right here. Queen of violations. Oh, God.
Doorstep interviews.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. It was unreal. But I'm at Worlds talking, and coaches would send me messages of like, oh, good luck. And it was like, I didn't really pay any attention to it.
Yeah.
Because I was focused on Worlds, and then I was focused, and then 2011 came, and I was obviously a senior in high school, and I was like, oh, I probably should figure out where I want to go.
Yeah.
So, yes, did I have a great recruiting process? Absolutely. Was it normal?
No.
Not even close.
Yeah. Well, there are massive changes happening at the recruiting level, especially like fines and stuff. So as it should be, right? Like, I don't know.
You should not be talking to a 12-year-old about where they want to go to school. Yeah. They should be focusing on 5th grade or I don't really know what grade. I don't know.
Middle school, maybe? TikTok, whatever it is. It's probably TikTok now.
Oh, yeah. I don't do TikTok.
Nor do I.
I don't understand TikTok. But you shouldn't be able to be. And what's really hard is that a lot of these JO kids, they don't really start progressing or getting to a college level until they're 15 to 16.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
when college coaches look at them, it's like, well, we don't have any scholarships because we chose an elite girl that's 11. I hate that.
And how many juniors are great as juniors and then because things accumulate?
So and I've always said if I ever got into college coaching, that would be the hardest thing for me to really grasp is because a lot of time, and I've seen, I'll be up front, I've seen the emails. A lot of parents reach out to coaches and say, hey, this is my kid and here's her YouTube channel and here. If I were a coach, I would say, thank you. I appreciate you reaching out. Contact me when she's minimum 15.
Yeah.
16. Like, you just can't, it's just so hard for me to watch that because I also have seen, I have seen girls, they have been committed to a school at the age of 14. If I committed to a school at 14, I don't even think I would have done college gymnastics because I had no idea.
Not to mention the pressure that a 14-year-old feels to keep their skills up and keep progressing through their high school years.
They shouldn't be focused on that.
Right.
A 14-year-old should not be focused on college.
Right.
They should be focused on making sure they're ready for their test in math.
Yep.
They should be focused on, I have a meet this weekend. Yep. Not, okay, so I'm going to be graduating in 4 years. That means that I'm going to no.
Yeah.
And again, it's just the culture is changing. It is changing, and I think it's changing for the better. But back in the day, man.
Wild West.
I had my first recruiting letter at age 10.
Jeez, that's crazy.
10. I had no idea what I was like, I literally opened it, and my mom was like, what is that? And I was like, I have no idea. I handed it to her. I was like, I I don't know.
Yeah.
And I remember just took it into my coach and was like, is this what we're in for? And he was like, I mean, yeah.
And I definitely, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I mean, you just, going back to it, I think if coaches are the first ones, they have to stop it.
Totally.
If a coach starts recruiting a 12-year-old, that means every coach has to start doing it.
Yeah.
Because coaches are very prideful. They're not going to let some kid get away from them just because, oh, well, I told myself I wasn't going to talk to them until, they're 15, 16. Yep. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. And it's sad that it doesn't work like that, but it's true. So I think now with the restrictions for coaches, that is going to go a very long way.
Yeah.
People have to keep them in line.
Absolutely. I'm happy to see the NCAA getting more policy stuff, but I agree. I think it comes down to the individual and the staff is because the biggest fear from what I've consulted with some people with is okay, so say this is completely random. I'm not schools 1 through 15 commit. They say, nope, we're not doing it no matter what. But then schools 15 through 30 are yes, this is our opportunity to get these kids. And they jump up in the line. It has to be a culture-wide acceptance that morally for the best.
Nationwide, D1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever, you have to all be in on this.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember when I was being recruited, they were full all 4 years of at Florida. People would reach out and say, hey, my kid really loves Florida. And even when I graduated, hey, do you know who I would need to talk to? And I'd be like, they're full.
Yeah.
They have every single scholarship filled till it was I think it was 2022. And I was like, what?
Yeah. And I empathize with coaches too, because they definitely have to set up program legacy and continuation and stuff like that. But the collateral damage that comes from that is so high. And I also empathize with coaches because I think that we don't talk enough about how much the parents are putting the forward pressure on calling people and doing that. And it's dude, why are we doing this? Are we doing this because you genuinely want a good future? Or is this for a Facebook post? Is this for parent comparison, keeping up with the Joneses? You know what I mean? I think that's a huge problem that we need to, I think it's a bigger problem than the coaches down.
Vicariously through their children.
Yep.
They do. And my parents did not.
Yeah.
My parents, I was very, very fortunate to have two very, very supportive parents, but also very uninvolved. They were not involved with my training. The only time they ever were involved was with medical. And guess what? I was still on their insurance. I needed them there.
Yeah. Copay.
That's why they were involved. But my mom and dad I never felt pressured. If I didn't want to go to practice, they were like, okay. And it was whoa, no, you forced me to go.
Yep.
You tell me to get in the car. And my mom was like, nope, I don't want to drive.
It's a choice. Fine. It's always a choice.
Oh, every day. And I look back and I'm like, thank God they did that.
Mm-hmm.
They were, and even my recruiting visits, never involved.
Yep.
They went,
chaperone.
I literally wrote pros and cons about each school. I didn't even want to visit Florida.
Yeah.
I was already dead set on a school. And then my dad was like, we might as well go. You've never been, you have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's an opportunity that might've been the only time that my parents got involved.
Yeah.
And obviously I ended up loving it there, but
it's crazy though, because everybody thinks that's the outlier. They think the parents not being involved, they're being so involved in the coaching side, but it's not. It's commonality between friends that I'm lucky to have. Dave, Jake, Sam, you, Steve Gluckstein, everybody I've interviewed in the podcast or other people, they were like, nah, my parents were my parents. They weren't really on the coaching side. Yeah. They stood up for me.
Yep. Sam Patrick,
yep.
We both just praise our parents because it's thank you. And Sam, I think Luann did a great job. I mean, Luann was with gymnastics her whole life, did college gymnastics, never pressured Sam.
Yep.
Ever. And even Jesse, both of them had a very look at it this way too. Sam and I both went to regular. I went to public high school. Sam went to private high school.
Yep.
We both had, gymnastics wasn't life.
Yeah.
Both of our parents knew that we were going to have to do something after the sport.
Yep.
So it was homework first, always. Yes, did my mom drive me to practice every day? Yeah, you think I slept? I was eating and or doing homework all the time, And I look back and it's nowadays, and now I hate to say it, but social media is just a curse
For sure.
on
Yeah.
the sport of gymnastics.
Yep.
I think it's great. It's great for kids to get their name out there. I do think that it has a lot of positives.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes people focus so much on the social media aspect, and they want to get recognized so bad that they'll do anything to do it. And I always cringe, and I'm like, just be a kid.
Yep.
Just live your life. Like, I remember the day I got a social media account. Oh God, I think I was like 15.
I had a chocolate slide up. It's good.
Nice. I had a pink razor.
Ooh, yeah.
And then I was really cool, and I had a BlackBerry because I traveled internationally. Oh yeah. I was really cool back in the day. Now I have 2 phones, which I'm even cooler now.
I know. Bat phone. You got a bat phone now.
I know.
It is crazy because, like, I don't know, the myth and the culture is like the robot of just doing gymnastics all the time. And you guys represent the highest echelon of the sport, of Olympic caliber medalists, right? And like, you guys are still like, nah, I was a kid. I had other things. My parents didn't pressure me. It's like, I wish people could just open their eyes a little bit to like the people that, get sensationalized are the ones that are these like hardcore, all gymnastics, no life, blah, blah, blah. But like, I think that's a really, really dangerous approach.
Well, it is a very dangerous approach, but you also look at it this way, I was the one who decided I wanted to go to the Olympics. Like that wasn't my mom's dream.
Yeah.
That wasn't my dad's dream. Like that was my goal. And that's why at Sam's camp, Beam Queen, like we harp, and we just, I don't want to say we like
drill it. Yeah.
Them, but we just really emphasize goals.
Yeah.
Like in the fact that it's not just a goal, like it is your goal. What do you want to do?
Yep.
And that could be get a back handspring. That could be a Florida Gator. That could literally be smile more at practice. Like whatever it is. But like that, I think a lot of people are swaying away from.
Yeah.
It's like mom was an ex-gymnast that really didn't have the career she wanted. Well, now she's got this little girl that, oh, well, I want you to achieve everything I didn't.
Yeah.
When that kid's like, I hate this sport.
Yeah.
And I mean, I personally don't know people like that, but I'm sure they're out there. And it's like, if you would just let your kid make their own decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if it's a poor decision, you can
protect them.
But if they want to quit gymnastics because they don't like it, let them quit gymnastics.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I was fortunate. I loved the sport from day one, and I had goals that I wanted to achieve. I don't come from a gymnastics family.
Yep.
Like, my dad wanted me to be a soccer player. He was crushed the day I told my family, hey, I don't want to play soccer anymore. It was like, but you're the future, Mia Hamm. I was like,
yeah. And that goes back to it, man. Like you can't force anyone to do anything. And I think this goes back to your point about social media is like, the problem is that, people are they're addicted to attention or validation from other people than themselves. They're like, they care so much about the opinion of other people and not the opinion of themselves that it makes them crave constant, like, tell me I'm good enough. Tell me I'm good. I'm a good gymnast, blah, blah, blah. And so now we go to the other side of social media where it amplifies. I think social media is a tool that is good or bad. You use it. It's the person behind it. But you then transition that to, I have to have my skills up. I'm better than this person. I'm doing these scores. Look at my skills. And parents just flooding it too. Like, look at how good Sally is. And it's like, this is toxic, man. This is a really slippery slope.
Well, and it all goes back to early recruiting.
Yeah.
I mean, these parents know, and I do love that a lot of the accounts are run by the parents. I genuinely think that's smart.
Yep, I would agree.
I think that is definitely, I mean, it's not a bad thing to have a parent run an Instagram account.
Sure.
I know some people are like, why is that so weird? I'm like, I don't think it's weird. I think it's very smart.
Safety layer. Right.
But it just goes back to the recruiting. Like, these parents are just being proactive. I don't want to harp on, and I'm not calling anyone a bad parent that is pushing their kid, but I get it. They're trying to be proactive, but the kid has to have a little bit of a decision there.
Totally.
And again, at 10 years old, you're not quite sure what you want. I will give them that. I mean, you're even at 5 or 6, it's, so options are great, but I think it's really hard on kids, and kids get burnt out so much faster when there are no options. There is no alternative. It's either I do gymnastics or I don't do anything. Well, obviously I'm going to do the sport, but I'm afraid of everything. gymnastics isn't a sport for you. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
I think that is the biggest thing for a parent to understand is if your kid is just afraid of everything, it's going to be really tough on them.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough physically, but guess what? It's going to be even tougher mentally. So do you really want to put them through that?
Yeah. It's a long road, man. It's a long road to do it for something other than I love it.
Oh, it's a long, and that's a hard road. Just thinking about like, if I hated gymnastics and my mother said, I'm sorry, you're doing it, it would
friction.
I mean, but it would affect my relationship with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
It would affect, I mean, I probably would not even be as nice as I am now.
Yeah. And I mean, I do want to say the other side of the coin is that there are so many parents that are well-intentioned and they're just trying to do what's best for their kid. And they honestly just don't know. They're not aware that this is what's happening. So if you're listening to this on the, you're like a gymnast, you're like, ooh, that's me. Or you're a parent, you're like, uh-oh. Have a honest conversation with like your kid and like, oh, I listen to a podcast and like, I wonder and like, just tell me how you really feel. I love you regardless of what your answer is, but like, do we like this? Is this fun? Is this what you're into? That kind of stuff.
And I think that goes to say you're always supposed to be honest with your coaches.
Yeah.
And they always harp on like, if something hurts, tell your coach.
Yeah.
Guess what? You have to be honest with your parents too. I mean,
totally.
I feel like that the honesty with your coach should absolutely be done with your parents too. And that's just in life. I mean, if your mom asks you, are you happy? And you say yes. And deep down, you're like, I hate this sport. That's probably not very smart.
Yeah. It's not like a long-term strategy.
Right. But again, I know that parents all have, or for the most part, I should say, they have their kids' best interests at heart. It's just the delivery sometimes. I'm like, let's work on that. Let's
Softer touch.
Right.
And I also think too, something I've been thinking a lot about more is there's people who love gymnastics and maybe that their primary like function in the gymnastics world wasn't to be a super high level athlete. I'm definitely like that. I was not the best athlete, Division III, barely limped on the team, but my experiences gave me a pretty good perspective on some stuff I'm doing now. And like Nick Ruddick, who's a really well-known coach in the UK, he works with 21 federations globally, not a great gymnast, but amazing coach, incredible coach. And I think like there's a role, you could be a coach, you could be a judge, you could be a volunteer, choreographer. There's so many things you could do.
You could be in the sport in so many ways.
Yep.
I know amazing athletes who are horrendous coaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know really not great athletes that make phenomenal coaches. I mean, you shouldn't look at someone and be like, I personally, I do know that I have a coaching eye and I see things a little bit differently. Yes, I was very good at gymnastics and I would like to think that I have some type of decent coaching style.
Yeah.
And I can look at something and I can see what's wrong with it. You go to Joe Schmo and say, what's wrong with that? And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And my brother has the same thing for coaching soccer. He played all his life. He went to college for it. And now he sees things the way I see gymnastics. That's not everybody. And you shouldn't be like, well, since I can't look at something and see it, clearly I'm not a good coach.
Absolutely.
No.
Yep.
And it's one thing to also mention is that you don't have to be an optional coach.
Correct.
How important is it? Age 4.
Dude, preschool hero. Be a preschool hero.
I always said my ideal age to coach would actually be a 4 and 5 year old group.
Yeah. That's how I started. I loved it. It's great.
They're excited.
Yep.
They want to be there and they want to learn. And they're movable. It's easy to, body positions and body shapes and working on that. That would be my ideal. And then I would want to obviously take them the rest of the way. I get
attached.
I'm like, I would definitely not be able to give like, okay, go see that one. Nope, come back.
I loved the preschool life. I had to stop and learn coaching though, because a girl sneezed in my mouth one time. I picked her up because she was crying and I was trying to get my group. And I was like, all right, so, and I turned, she's like, and I was like, and after that was the moment where I was like, I need to start learning to spot and not doing this full time. Some girl blew her nose in the back of my shirt in my train one time too. But those were my 2 moments. But I did it for 4 years before I was like, I think I'm ready to move on to the next section of gymnastics.
So what you're saying is you don't like people sneezing in your shirt?
I'm trying to cut back. It's my New Year's resolution, I've had 4 or 5.
Proud of you. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah. Anyways, but preschool gymnastics is love, man. I love those little nuggets.
Hey, my mom was a preschool teacher and everyone loved Miss Mary. Oh, Miss Mary. Oh, she's so great.
Oh man, that's great. I want to wrap things up a little bit, transition towards the Power Monkey side of your life in the CrossFit world. First of all, how did you get into CrossFit exactly? I know your transition. Were you like the retired gymnast like me that didn't know how to work out? That's what happened to me. I was like,
Nope. This is kind of embarrassing, but I normally admit to it because I have to. So I moved to Orlando. So I had never done CrossFit before. That's a lie. I had done like one class.
Yeah.
I swore off CrossFit, and it's
Same.
so funny. I have some friends that are like, you said you would never. And I'm like, listen, I was at a crossroad. I moved to Orlando. I didn't have my friend group that I have right now. I didn't know anybody. So I was like, all right, we got to meet people. So
Dude, I was the same way.
Well, so I was like, I can either go to the bars by myself or join a gym. And I was like, let's try to be smart here. So I was actually in my apartment gym doing like pistol squats because obviously I'm a gymnast. And pistol squats are really easy for me. And I was trying to show off because there was a really hot guy in there.
No heel lifts, brother. Look at these go.
Well, then this girl comes over to me and asks me about CrossFit. And she's like, oh, do you do CrossFit? And I was like, oh, God, no. She was like, oh, she's like, you really should. Or she was like, you should check it out. She didn't say I should, but she was like, you should check it out. She's like, I go to Subu, which is down the, I mean, it was half mile from my apartment, which it's even closer now. But she was like, you should check it out. And the funniest story, and I'll say his name. So Ty is one of the coaches at the gym, and he's one of my very, very good friends now. But I walked in, I was decked out in Lululemon. Naturally.
Yeah, let's go.
I was literally, it was like Nike, or it was like Lululemon top, sports bra, leggings, and then I had like Nike running shoes. And I was like, and I walked up and I was just like, you know,
Taibo boxing class, let's go.
Right. And Ty was like, oh, is this like, are you dropping in? And I was like, yeah. I drop in and there's Toast Bar in the workout.
Yeah.
He's like, have you ever done a Toast Bar? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. So I was like, no. He's like, okay. So we're going through Arch Hollow. He's like, okay, yep, you're definitely catching on. And then all of a sudden I do a leg lift and I'm like, boop.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, what? And I was like, I was a gymnast. I should have mentioned that.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been nice to know. And literally like from that day, I just kept going back.
Yeah.
And then I bought my first pair of Metcons and we were in.
The rest is life.
It was like, I bought a pair of Metcons. I bought wrist wraps.
You're in knee sleeves.
I don't wear knee sleeves.
I don't wear anything either. So
yeah, I don't wear knee sleeves. I don't do lifters.
Lifters I do something for actual Olympic lifting, but
I mean, I should. I just don't. Yeah. But I have really good.
Use that ankle mobility, Blo. Use that ankle mobility.
I would say I have really good ankle mobility still, so I'm trying to hold out as long as I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I literally fell in love with the gym, and I love CrossFit. I do, and I love the workouts, and I love the team aspect, and I love the competitiveness.
Yeah.
You can be as competitive as you want.
Mm-hmm.
There are days where I'm like, and again, I feel like I've been doing CrossFit for years and years now. I'm now into year 3.
Now you're a veteran.
Yeah. But I feel like I've been doing it forever. But there are days where I will walk in and I'm like, I would just like to announce to the class, I will not be doing this for myself. Like, and it's so
Catch
funny.
me on the bike, bro. Catch me on the bike.
There's so many memes that are like about CrossFit. I'm like, that's me. That's literally me. And it's like, did you do the warm up today? Nope. I'm like, that's me.
Yeah.
Me. But what I love most about CrossFit is the community. And I love my gym for the people. You know, I have met some of my best friends in that gym, and I would have never met, maybe would have met them organically, but I met some of the best people I know, and I've been introduced to so many amazing things like Power Monkey. Yeah. And, you know, I got started with Power Monkey last October.
Great addition.
Thank you. I actually have to give Mike a gold star for he texted me about getting flights, and it was because I had average to above average feedback.
Ooh, whoa, hey
like,
now.
I don't want to like toot
not that we have a leaderboard at Power Monkey Coaching, but you're on it.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I've always wanted to get involved though, and I'd heard about Dave's camp for a while. Even before I started CrossFit, I knew about Power Monkey. Yeah. I just never I never thought I was needed. I guess like I was like, oh, they're not like, why would they look to me? Like I don't even, at the time I was like, I don't even do CrossFit. Now, obviously going, I'm like, oh, this is not, it's not. And I hate when people are like, oh, you do CrossFit. Like, oh, you just pick things up and put them down. I'm like, yep, that's it. That's what I do.
I always say, I do CrossFit-like activities.
Yeah, that's what I need to start saying. Cause I'm like, if only you knew working out with me was more of it's a social hour.
Yeah.
It's a dance party sometimes.
Deadlift, drink. Deadlift, chat.
Oh, mine is more like deadlift, look around. Is anyone not moving? Ooh, you're not doing anything. So how was your day?
Have you gotten the lean back? Do you just lean on people's rigs like, yo, what's up? What's going on over here? Do you still keep your lean?
You've never worked out with me.
I haven't.
I guess I'm way different when I work out like at Power Monkey because there's not a lot of people to talk to. But like when I go to my gym, some coaches don't like coaching me just because I talk too much, which I talk because I want to cry normally.
Yeah, I feel that sometimes.
Talking is my coping mechanism.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's literally how I got started. And then I ended up obviously catching on to things a lot quicker with my gymnastics background.
Yep.
And yeah, I love the workouts, but it's really the people that have kept me.
Yeah.
It's the people, and not even just the people at my gym, but like the people that I've met and the connections that I've made and the opportunities that have come from CrossFit.
Yep.
I wish I would have done it earlier.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoy the community piece is huge. I moved to Boston, had the same exact thing. No CrossFit, but then I got involved and it was good. And luckily I had a really good gym that had like high quality coaches. So that was big. But at the same time, I enjoy, I don't have a competitive bone in my body. I think it's probably why I wasn't great at gymnastics, but personally between myself, I'm very competitive towards like wanting to always kind of push. So that's why I enjoyed CrossFit because like, God, it never gets easier. It just never gets easier. It's always hard.
No, everything is hard.
Yeah.
CrossFit is hard.
Which is good,
Literally everything about CrossFit, I'm like, why does this hate? Like, we'll do a snatch and I fail and I'm like, why? Why? Like, why is this so hard? This wasn't this hard 2 weeks ago.
I know.
And I'm like, now I can't like, oh God, the thought of doing a snatch right now, I'm like, oh, my quads would explode. Like,
there's nothing worse than when you're like kind of like in the tank and so and you pick the first 135 up something, you're like, oh no. This bar is so heavy. Or
you do a back squat and you're like, oh wow, this must be like 135 and they're like, it's 85. I'm like, oh.
That's when I did 2 full Olympic lifting cycles, one with Chad's help after like Power Monkey. And I remember like the percentages going up and I like checked the weights like 6. I'm like, did we get damn kilo plates when I was gone? Like these things are heavy, man.
Those kilo plates are not cool.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Not to mention your workout takes 2 extra hours because us Americans with pounds. I'm like, carry the one cause 26.
Yeah. I don't even know what weight I put on the bar normally. I'm just like, just put it on. And if I fail, I'll know it's heavy. But if I make it, I'll know I'm okay.
Nice. Solid. What did you think about Power Monkey though? Like what was your perspective from that? Cause you're a fresh face inside. That was my 10th one, which is pretty crazy. But I don't know. What were your thoughts?
All right. My thoughts on Power Monkey.
First of all, Dave Durante, massive shout out because we love him.
Yes, we do love Dave. I thought it was, I loved it. I thrive in that atmosphere and I love and I think that's why I always love
maximal social hour.
Yes. Oh, I love meeting new people.
For sure.
I'm very social. I think that's very obvious. I'm a very social butterfly, but I love meeting new people and learning about them. And I also love learning. Like even in gymnastics, did I get to the highest level and compete at the absolute highest level? Yes, but I love learning.
Yeah.
And when you're passionate about something, that learning aspect is almost heightened when you get the opportunity.
Definitely.
So for me, like I love CrossFit and I love everything about it, but I'm not, and I have a coaching eye for it due to gymnastics. But I'm not a CrossFit coach. I'm not, and I will be very upfront about it when people ask me about lifting or I'm like, I'm not a coach. I can tell you from my experience.
Yeah.
I don't have the credentials to really give you an honest, like, this is what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I love the most about Power Monkey is it seems like everyone has their own style of coaching.
For sure.
But at the same time, everyone adapted to each individual camper.
Yeah,
like
it's huge.
It was insane to me watching rings because we were obviously over on bars, Shane and I, which Shane DeFreitas, might be one of my favorite people.
Blessed.
I really do love working with Shane, and that was super fun. And we vibed very well together, which I think a lot of people were worried about. I think there are some people that are like, I don't know, like this could either go really well
or implode. Yeah.
Don't hate each other. We definitely don't hate each other. But it was really, really cool to see also adults.
Yeah.
I'm always used to kids.
Yep.
I'm used to children.
Yeah.
And watching these adults, and there were campers that were coming up to me asking me about my experience with a toast bar.
Yeah.
And like, I want you to teach me. I've never had an adult ask me to teach them something.
Awesome.
So it was really, really cool to have them, you know, not only did Dave trust my coaching ability and my, I guess,
personality.
Yeah, I would say I didn't want to say personality, but yes, he had
huge.
You take a risk. I mean, you have no idea how people are going to mesh with kids. It's an even bigger unknown knowing how they're going to mesh with adults. So it was really, really awesome to just be around everyone who wanted to learn, whether they were peak athletes or first day of CrossFit.
Yep.
They wanted to learn. And the coaches that Dave brings in, which I guess can say I am one of them. Those are the top of the top coaches.
Yep.
And they are there to help you.
Yep.
Totally. I mean, I had Mike help me with my snatches. I had Chad help me with my squats. I had Vanessa help me. I had Rika help me with and they wanted to, like, they were excited to. It wasn't like they were like, oh God, like, seriously?
Yeah.
Come on. Like, they were excited, but that made me excited.
Totally.
That's why I think Power Monkey is so awesome for anyone, because you're going to leave that camp feeling so empowered and having a lot of tools to help you accomplish any goal that you have.
Yeah. The effort that the coaches put into every camper and every person at the station is crazy. Like, I remember, like maybe it was like 6 or 7, we used to do all stations, no breaks. And like the coaches were like just hustling for like 7 hours a day. And then they would do open gym, and then they would take privates. Like me and Dan once did like 65 evals for people and wrote programs in a week. And like, you feel dead at the end of the week. But at the same time, it's like, dude, this is awesome. We want people to learn. But I'm always blown away. It's like the same kind of camps. I remember looking around a table of us discussing stuff, and it was like Chris Hinshaw, Chad, it was like Olympian, you know, like Rika, Dave Newman, like all these people. I'm like, dude, these people are incredible. Like it blows me away how much knowledge is there, but everyone's so humble and ready to learn and ready to down to earth.
You would never know that some of the people, you know, me being me, Chris Henshaw, had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
Literally,
what do you do here? What do you do here?
Well, I was like, who's that? And I like, in October, I was there, you know, walking around with Danny, who obviously Danny Spiegel she's just a beast of an athlete.
Yeah,
like, she's
agreed.
a freak of nature, and I love her unconditionally. And I love that she goes to my gym, and she's a great human in the gym, but I really love her outside of the gym too. So, you know, we're walking around, and he walks by and says, hi, Danny. I'm like, who the hell was that?
Yeah.
She was like, oh, you have so much to learn. I'm like,
oh, young one. Oh, your baby Yoda. Your baby Yoda.
Seriously, I was like, I should know who that is, shouldn't I? And she's like, I mean, no, it's fine. But then she told me, and I was like, oh. Yeah. I was like, sweet. So like, and that's another thing, is that Dave brings in athletes that are literally top CrossFit athletes, and they're doing classes. Yeah. I mean, they're joining in. Like Danny, I loved it. Danny took my bar class. Aww. I was like, you always coach me. Now I get to help you.
Hearts.
And obviously Danny was a gymnast, so she has just impeccable form
I didn't know
on the bar and all of that. But it was funny afterwards. She was like, I had no idea you had such a coaching eye. And I was like, yeah. I was like, you've never seen me in the gymnastics world. I was like, yeah, it's crazy. And I was like, and now coming over into CrossFit, I was like, I just kind of translate it now into CrossFit terms. But yeah. I think the biggest takeaway, though, is that Power Monkey is not about PRs. It is about form and technique and literally learning from the basic. Yeah. And you have these people that buy into that process. That's why everyone comes back, because maybe you didn't accomplish everything in 1 week. Guess what? There's going to be another one. Yep. And when you have such an amazing foundation that Dave has with his staff, to the location, I mean, Flip Fest camp translating into Power Monkey is the best thing ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's so fun.
Yep.
And I think also the fact that he brings in, the meals.
Yep. Amazing
you
food.
learn so much about nutrition. But there was a jump roping course last time.
Yeah.
I didn't get to do it.
Shout out Dave Newman.
I have so many people at Subu that I'm like, you need this. I'm like, you need this. And my goal for May is to definitely do more.
Yep.
I want to do more, and I want to be involved a little more, because when it's your first time, I
timid,
had Monday.
yeah.
Well, and Monday and Tuesday, I remember I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go nap, and I was like, why did I?
It's a lot. It is a lot, though.
It is, but I'm just, now that I know what to expect,
sure.
I definitely.
Yep.
I'll be you'll see me in the gym way more.
Yeah, full force. I think my last parting thought on Power Monkey, my favorite part is along with the people and stuff, but I mean, there's been incredible games athletes and other Olympians that come, and I love when they go to a station that's something they've done forever, they've snatched forever, whatever it is, but then they hear Chad talk or they hear Vanessa talk or someone, and they're like, I never knew this. I never knew there was a way to do this. I watched Rika teach 5 games athletes and a bunch of, I think Ben Bergeron was there that year and some other people, and they all did a rowing workout together, and everyone was like, wait, why do you do this? Why do you put the foot plates here? And Rika was like, it's just the way you row. I think that's just the way we do it, as Olympians.
I had so many questions. I did the rowing course with Rika, and before it even started, I was like, I need you to know something about me. I hate rowing. I was like, there is a fire inside me that I despise rowing. And she was like, okay. I'm like, I need you.
Yeah. Put that on the table.
Before moving forward.
Yeah.
And we rode for over an hour, and I got off, and I was dead, but I was like, I survived.
This is great.
I was like, who would have thought that I had survived? And going back to the games athletes that, they're talking about things or going to coaches and saying oh, why do you do that? Toes to bar. The amount of people that do toes to bar wrong is mind blowing. And you think about it, and the way I do toes bar is very gymnastics. I am a gymnast.
Biased.
So mine is and we were doing something, and it was about flexing our feet, I think. Because obviously you think, oh, well, I'll flex my feet and I'll get to the bar faster.
Yep.
And then it was well, you know how much strain you're putting on your calf
and
hamstrings,
yeah.
And I was like, why don't you try just relaxing your foot and letting the top of your foot hit the bar? And I don't remember who it was. I don't know if they were a games athlete, but they were very involved with CrossFit.
Yeah.
She got off the bar and was like, you just changed my life.
You Jesus.
I was like, I go, Shane, did you hear that?
Not that we're counting, but put one up for me.
I don't want to brag, but gold star.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. But they're just, what I love is they buy into it.
Yeah.
No one that goes to that camp thinks they're better than anyone.
Totally agree.
And I think that just shows how amazing the camp is and how welcoming it is to. There were people that literally one guy, I will never forget him. When did you start CrossFit? What's today? Wednesday. Monday. I was like, no way.
Yeah. I think I knew that. It was one of Dan and I's patients. He's a veterinarian. He came.
Yes.
Mike,
yes.
Yeah.
But it was why not? He's like, why wouldn't I? And I was like, I am totally on board with you. I was like, just let me know if you're dying. Let me know.
Just put a hand up, bird signal, something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yep.
It was really, really cool.
My last parting story is Rika. I do one rowing workout with Rika every month. It started like a tradition. And the one we did a few years ago, we rowed some sort of 20 minutes of stroke rate stuff. And I remember looking at the monitor at the end, and I was crippled. And I looked over, she had rowed 2,400 more meters than me in the 20-minute span. I was like, God damn, you are.
Why did you look?
I don't know. I shouldn't look now. But
anytime I was on the rower next to her, I was like, can you move over there?
Can you put a towel over your screen for me, please?
Vanessa was next to me, and I really love Vanessa. And
Vanessa's an amazing human.
I know, but she was rowing so much harder than me, and I was like, can you go over there? Move. I was like, I need you away from me. And she was like, but I want to be by you. I was like, no. I was like,
stop being so fit.
I know. I was like, you're just making me feel like I'm not doing anything. I was rowing, but it was so sad. I'm such a pitiful rower.
I know. A short gymnast,
Oh, I know. It's like rope climbs. I'm like, yep, not doing that. I haven't climbed rope in so long.
I feel different about that.
Every time it's in a workout, I'm like, ooh, not going to the gym today.
Jump rope climbs. I'm going to pull my jump rope closer.
Oh, hey, that's fine. Jump rope climbs are fine. I do them.
I used to feel that way about running, and now it's gotten better, but running was woof.
I don't mind running now.
Yeah, I've grown to love it, but before, man, it was like 74.4 feet was my vault, and that's about all I did up until I started doing more CrossFit stuff.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Amen to that. It was like, how long do you run? Well, I started at 78.5, and then I did a little hop skip, and then I took 9 steps.
3 seconds, maybe, yeah.
And that was my
And then occasionally, if I got to make it to the car real fast, but.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, I feel that.
Alrighty, well, that was amazing. Thanks for all your chatting and your wisdom. I'm going to let you go because I'm sure you have a life to lead and things to do.
Oh, yeah. I have lives to change.
Yep, just gold stars for everybody today. Gold stars, pass them out.
Gold stars for everybody. You know it. You know it.
Alrighty, well, we'll see you at Power Monkey Camp, and then we'll look out for you on the live streams for TV stuff.
Yes.
Where can people find you? Where can people find you? Instagram, social.
Oh, I am on Instagram. I am on Twitter. I am so thankful for this, by the way. So my Instagram handle and my Twitter handle are the same. Just
That's good.
Bridget Sloan.
That's good.
I am so happy that I listened to my parents when I made social media. They were like, just do your first and last name. And I was like, no, I want to do like gymnast, Gym Queen 101. Like,
or
something.
even worse, it's like Kissy XOXO. Like everyone had that AIM name and they look back like, oh my God.
Do your name. Like just do your name. And I'm so thankful because I'm like, how many fake accounts do you think would be out there?
I know. The real. We need the real Bridget. The real Bridget.
Do you know how many times people ask me that?
Are you the real Bridget?
Yes.
Or you look like Bridget Sloan. Have I ever told you that?
Oh, I get that a lot. Ever since I chopped my hair, has anyone ever told you look like Bridget Sloan? I'm like, how weird. How weird.
I play her stunt double.
And then I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm Bridget Sloan.
Hi,
like,
that's me. That's me.
Yes, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. I'll be here all day.
It's so funny.
All right, Bridge. Thank you so much. That was so great.
Of course.
Well,
anytime.
This will go up. This will go up pronto next week, so all your raving fans can find all your knowledge.
Oh yes, yeah, all of my knowledge.
Your posse following you. Yeah. All righty, toodaloo, my friend.
Oh, all right. Bye. I'll see you in May.
Bye.